At my summer camp, we have 26 different cabins for kids to stay in. Instead of choosing where you stay, you get assigned a cabin based on how old you are. For example, 8-year-olds get put into cabins 26 through 24, 9-year-olds get put into cabins 25 through 22, etc. Last summer, I was one of the oldest kids at the camp, so I got put into cabin 1. Cabin 1 is infamous at my camp for a few reasons, but I'll be focusing on only one of them today. At the camp, there was a rumor that there was a bowling alley under cabin 1. This was obviously not true, but what I never knew was that there was some truth to that rumor. When I walked into the cabin on the first day, I noticed that there was a blue bowling ball sitting on a table in the middle of the cabin. So I thought, oh cool, the rumor was very slightly true, and picked up the bowling ball. But then, my friend Diego ran into the cabin. I had not seen Diego in a few years since we usually went to the camp at different times, so I was excited to see him. However, without saying hi, or welcome back, or how was the last 3 years, or anything like that, Diego yells out, "Put down that bowling ball." When I asked why, Diego told me, "Remember that kid Big Dick from a few years ago? He cummed into the holes in the bowling ball." Now, I did not believe Diego when he said this. This is the same kid who brought a foot-long hatchet each year, so he's not the most normal individual at summer camp. However, even if this was true, I had already put my fingers in the holes, so any damage had already been done. But, I put down the bowling ball just to humor the poor guy. For the rest of camp, there was a rumor going around that former camper Big Dick cummed into the bowling ball, and no one in my cabin was going to touch it. Fast forward to in the last days of camp. Each night, the other boys in my cabin would play Truth or Dare. I never joined in because I was always too tired to. Plus, the games of Truth or Dare eventually turned into a dick swinging contest of how much sex everyone has had, and as a Minecraft commentary YouTuber, I was unable to add anything to that conversation. But, one night I couldn't fall asleep, so I was listening to the other kids playing Truth or Dare. At one point, someone dared this kid Horace to put all of his fingers into the bowling ball. Despite the rumor almost certainly just being a rumor, Horace was super mad about the dare and was refusing to do it. So while all my friends were arguing over whether or not the dare violated the Geneva Convention, a devilish idea came to me. I got out of my bunk while my friends were still arguing. Because I rarely ever got out of my bunk, a few of them turned to me and asked if they needed to be quieter. I said no and got a sip of water, knowing I was about to do something really awesome. While my friends are still arguing about the dare, I pick up the bowling ball, shove my fingers as far into the holes as I can, walk it over to Horace, and hand it to him. In my mind, I picture this moment as the "and then everyone clapped" moment I'd always heard about on social media website Reddit. But I made one crucial mistake. To make it easier for Horace to pick up, I turned the bowling ball upside down so that the holes were on the bottom. When I did this, I felt some liquid spill into my hand. In the span of a single second, I went from feeling awesome for doing a dare that violated the Geneva Convention to feeling like my life was over and that I needed to wash my hands. It turned out that there was, indeed, cum in the bowling ball, and I had just gotten it all over my hands. However, before I got the chance to really freak out, my friend Pablo told me that, earlier that night, he had put glow stick fluid in the bowling ball for some reason. So the cum was not actually cum, it was glow stick fluid. Immediately, I felt relieved. And to bounce back, I asked Pablo, "Does that mean I can do this?" and lick my fingers. I don't remember what happened after that. If I'm being honest, my friends probably just looked at me like I was an alien, and then went back to playing Truth or Dare without me, and I probably went back to bed with a stomachache. So that was the bowling ball incident of 2021. I tried to epically own my friends by showing that I was not afraid of the bowling ball that potentially had 4-year-old cum in it, but then I was the one who got owned when glow stick fluid from the bowling ball got onto my hands and I thought it was cum. However, that's not the only crazy story I have from my camp, and thankfully, this next one is a lot more PG. I mentioned at the start of this video how my summer camp housed kids of all ages, not just a bunch of edgy teenagers playing Truth or Dare at night. And because I was one of the oldest kids in my camp last summer, I decided to try and befriend some of the younger kids who were coming to camp for their first year. I remember that I was always pretty homesick during my first few years at camp, so I thought I could relate to them and help them out if they were struggling. It was here where I met a kid I will call Grover. Grover was 8 years young and in cabin 24, which made him one of the youngest kids at camp. He was also going for 7 weeks instead of 3 like I do, so I knew he was probably freaking out. So, me and some friends decided to befriend Grover and help him out whenever we could. However, then we began to notice a few odd things about Grover. To put it simply, he was an airhead. He just kind of waddled around camp getting into misadventures, and he always seemed like his brain was filled with nothing but butterflies. For example, he always managed to get anything he was eating or drinking onto his shirt, and I mean anything. One day, it was super cold out, so the kitchen staff decided to make hot chocolate for the whole camp. The hot chocolate was super hot, so my friends and I were all drinking it super slowly. Then, we see Grover waddle by, and his entire mouth and shirt is stained brown from the hot chocolate. I have no clue how that little man got so much burning hot chocolate all over himself so quickly, but that was just Grover for you. There were other funny things Grover did too. I mentioned before how he just sort of waddled around camp, and I mean that literally. His walk was more of a penguin's waddle than a human's walk. He also did not know how to properly address a letter. Each Sunday, the counselors would make us write a letter home so that our parents knew we were okay, and then we would turn in at dinner time. So I'm sitting with Grover before we go in for dinner, and I ask him if he can show me his letter, and it just didn't have an address on it. This happened on multiple occasions, and one time I literally watched his counselor help him write the letter, and they still did not write the address on the envelope. Also, Grover did not know how to swim, and he had to wear a life jacket whenever he went in the water. This meant that if Grover wanted to go to free swim, which is just a place at camp where you can swim in the lake, Grover's counselor would have to run out to the lifeguards and warn them that Grover was coming to free swim and not allowed to take off his life jacket. However, the funniest moment I had with Grover took place at the cross-country run my camp does every year. At camp, we do this thing called the track meet, where you do a bunch of different events, some of which relate to track and field, while others do not. The first event we did was an optional 1.5 mile run, which was 3 laps around the entire camp. When we did this event, I was feeling pretty sick, but I still wanted to participate. So I decided I would just run with Grover for the whole race and make sure that he didn't quit. Grover and I run together on the first lap, and he is honestly doing alright, especially for an 8-year-old. But then, we finish the first lap, and this is where I make the biggest mistake of my life. I tell Grover, "Good job, man, you only have 2 more laps left." Grover hears this and stops in his tracks. He immediately begins to tear up and says, "2 more laps? I can't do this." The dude thought it was only 1 lap. So now, I'm trying to get Grover to run the race, but he is just wallowing in despair. He ends up sitting down, and I decided to leave him because I thought he was a lost cause. However, this story does have a happy ending. For a second lap, I just walked with some of my other friends who also didn't really want to run but still wanted to participate. All of a sudden, Grover bolts by me. He is back in it, baby. Grover never quits. I ran the rest of the race with him, and he ended up having a great time. So that was the story of Grover and the Big Bad Race. Let me know what you think of this video in the comment section below. I'm trying to experiment with different types of content this month, so any feedback would be appreciated. I definitely have more stories from my summer camp and life as a whole that would make for entertaining videos. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.